The idea that political power was tied to religious power is an ancient idea. I can't think of an example from antiquity or from the Middle Ages that we've been studying in which the power of a secular ruler has been separate from the power of religion. Different kinds of religion, different kinds of rule. The close connection between the Christian religion and political power is inextricably bound up with between the relationship of the Church to the Roman Empire, as we've said. The Church adopts the essential mechanisms and structures of Roman government. And even though there are many secular rulers throughout medieval Europe who vie with the Church for power, all of these rulers are Christian. They are themselves, in many ways, as far as their religion is concerned, they are subject to the power of the Church. So after the Reformation, when Europe becomes divided into, once again, many different kinds of Christianities, each of which is attractive to different groups of people for different groups of reasons, rulers find themselves, for the first time, ruling over communities which are divided along the lines of religion. And this is such a new idea that really no one knows how to even think about it. If you don't have one religion in a state, how can you have a single kind of law? Because law depends on things like the taking of oaths. Justice depends on being able to swear that you're telling the truth. In court, for example, well, how do you know that your Catholic neighbor is swearing the same kind of oath as you? How do we have a state that would be comprised of so many different kinds of religious belief? But inevitably, the answer to this, or the non-answer to this, is that the kinds of violence, the religious warfare that is endemic throughout Europe for a century and a half, from the time of Luther's death up until the 1648, so a little over 100 years, this incredible violence and civil conflict within states makes it very obvious to rulers that they're going to have to find another way to glue their state communities together that is not dependent on religion. So famously, when Henry IV, Henri IV, the King of France, declares a certain measure of tolerance within his kingdom, he tries to replace religion as being the glue that holds a state together with an idea that one might want to call nationalism. What he did is he called upon all his subjects, whether they were Protestants or Catholics, to think about themselves as Frenchmen, to think about themselves as the subjects of himself, as the king, and to direct their loyalty toward him. So if one of the things that does make a modern state is this shift of loyalty away from your community or your church to the state, this becomes almost necessary as a result of the type of violence that had arisen in the wars of religion. So rulers are forced to embrace a measure. There's a variety of this. They're forced to embrace a measure of religious tolerance in order to keep the peace, and they or their political philosophers start to then imagine other types of belief structures, patriotism, for example, which would rechannel that religious fervor in the direction of the state.